Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we go beyond the headlines, straight into the classified files that really change how we see the world.
And today, we're tackling something foundational, not just another Titan incident.
Exactly. We're looking at a pivotal moment, a scientific and strategic turning point, really. It's a reconstruction of an event that, frankly, GDF Command absolutely dreaded.
We're pulling this directly from the deep archives, focusing on the Convergence event that rewrote the rulebook.
And to really set the scene, we have to start with that official GDF archive intro, the one that always sent a chill down your spine in briefing.
Yes, the nightmare scenario confirmation.
From the deep archives of the Global Defense Force, a reconstruction of the event humanity feared most. 2 alphas, 1 battlefield.
That reconstruction has a code name, Story 05, the Two-Front War, and it's all about Sydney.
Right, Sydney. For the GDF, this wasn't just another attack. It was the statistical certainty becoming reality.
Yeah, the models predicted it, but seeing it happen, that's different. So our goal here is to really dissect how the GDF responded, strategically and scientifically.
And especially look at the key figures, the command trio who had to manage this chaos.
The pressure on them was just immense. And their different philosophies, well, they were constantly clashing. It really defined those early GDF operations.
So first up, you've got the analyst, Dr. Kenji Tanaka, lead kaiju strategist.
Tanaka, the numbers guy. Calm, calculated, almost detached sometimes.
Totally. He saw patterns, energy signatures, vectors. Titans weren't monsters to him, not really. They were forces of nature, like hurricanes or earthquakes, but, alive.
And he believed humanity had to adapt or, face erasure. Stark, but that was his view.
He was the strategist, the brain, but then you needed the muscle, the action.
Which brings us to Major Eva Rostova, commander of the Aegis' strike team.
Rostova. Hardened, decisive. If Tanaka saw forces of nature, she saw targets.
Her focus, rapid elimination. Or containment if killing it wasn't immediately possible. She was the one cutting through the scientific debate, reminding everyone that people were dying now.
Always bring it back to the human cost, a vital counterpoint.
And then the third point of that triangle, Dr. Eris Thorne.
Oh, Thorne, the wild card. Kaiju biologist, xenolinguist. Brilliant, but definitely operated outside the box.
Thorne was the empath. The one arguing this was all just a massive misunderstanding on a planetary scale.
Believed the Titans were actually communicating somehow, pushing for translation before termination.
Which, you can imagine, drove Tanaka up the wall with its lack of hard data.
And probably scared Rostova with the potential delay and risk.
Exactly. So you have this constant tension. The analyst, the warrior, the communicator, it's key to understanding the Sydney response.
Because Sydney wasn't just any convergence. The stakes were astronomically high.
This was the big one. The first confirmed meeting of the Alpha Terran, Magmox, and the Alpha Abyssal Leviathan.
And they weren't just bumping into each other over Sydney Harbor. They were fighting over something specific.
A massive geothermal hotspot, deep beneath the continent, a huge energy source.
And Tanaka's models. What did they predict about this specific clash?
They were alarming. Based on precursor tremors, the energy signatures involved Magmox's molten core heat, Leviathan's deep-sea hydro energy interacting over that hotspot.
It could destabilize the whole region tectonically.
That was the fear. His exact warning was chillingly blunt. If this battle escalates, the energy release could literally sink the continent.
Okay, that's the nightmare scenario, right? No ambiguity there.
So let's dig into that core conflict. Before Sydney, GDF was mostly reactive, right? Titan pops up, GDF responds.
Yeah, like playing whack-a-mole, but with city-destroying giants.
Exactly. Sydney forced a huge paradigm shift. The realization sunk in. These aren't just giant, mindless animals.
The archives use the term warring alien civilizations. That's a big leap.
It is. With complex goals, motivations, even geopolitical strategies, bizarre as that sounds, GDF had to pivot.
From planetary defense to, what? Interstellar relations.
Something like that. They started to see the Earth conflict as a battle for planetary realignment, driven by 2 very different ancient forces.
Okay, so let's define these players. Faction 1, the Terrans. The archives call them gardeners or architects.
Right. Their defining trait is geology. They're silicon-based, essentially living rock and magma, drawing power from the Earth's core and mantle.
Like Magmox, the one in Sydney? What else? Gorgon root, Quake-Wing.
Yeah, creatures fundamentally tied to the crust. They're drawn to geothermal sites, tectonic boundaries. That's their lifeblood, their power source.
So what's their goal if they're gardeners?
Reclaim and restore. That's the GDF assessment. They see Earth as their domain, ancient and rightful.
And us. Humanity.
We're an anomaly, a temporary infestation to be cleared. It's not personal, just ecological correction on a terrifying scale. Like ripping out weeds.
Planetary gardening. That's unsettlingly passive-aggressive for world-ending destruction.
Well, and they build things too. Remember Story 06, the Giza revelation.
Oh, right. The pyramids. That was mind-blowing.
Deep seismic scans, energy signature analysis. The GDF concluded they weren't tombs. They were Terran-built structures.
Acting as energy regulators and infrastructure. Part of a global ancient grid.
Exactly. Millennia old. Designed to manage Earth's geological development according to Terran needs. It suggests they weren't just awakened recently.
They were dormant architects, maybe occasionally active, shaping the planet beneath our notice for ages.
Wow. Okay, now contrast that with Faction 2, the Abyssals. The Harvesters, or Swarm.
If Terrans are geological, what are abyssals?
They seem to be parasitic, maybe energy-based life, originating from extreme deep-sea trenches. Think Leviathan, Krak-Os, trench breaker.
Hydroenergy-based, right, coming from the absolute depths.
Precisely, and their motivation seems much more desperate.
Which is?
Consumed to survive. The working theory in GDF is that they might be refugees, fleeing a dying reality or dimension.
Refugees, seeking Earth's energy.
Specifically the geothermal core. But their method seems to be hijacking or consuming the existing Terran energy network, which naturally puts them in direct conflict.
Architects versus scavengers. Got it. And their methods are just as destructive.
Oh, yeah. Story 03, Leviathan's coastal attacks. That was something else.
Using those high-pressure water jets, like
Yep.
natural water cutters on a city scale.
Exactly. Carving canyons through coastal cities, deliberately flooding huge areas. It wasn't random destruction.
That's when Dr. Thorne made that chilling assessment.
Yeah. It's terraforming, making the land more like the sea. They weren't just smashing things, they were actively reshaping the environment to suit them, creating new abyssal habitats.
So one faction wants a rock garden planet, the other wants a global ocean trench, and humanity's stuck in the middle.
Pretty much. Which brings us back to Sydney. Why that hotspot? Why then? Was it just bad luck?
Tanaka didn't think so, right?
Mm.
His models predicted this convergence.
His analysis suggested that specific geothermal source under Sydney was nearing a critical energy peak. A massive, untapped reservoir was about to become available, essentially.
So it was a race. Magmox, the Terran, moves to claim it.
Likely to stabilize its regional network, expand its influence across the tectonic plate, consolidate its hold on the continent's energy.
And Leviathan, the Abyssal, couldn't let that happen.
If the Terran grid strengthened, it would make Earth less suitable for the Abyssals long term. So, yeah, it had to intervene.
So the battle wasn't random. It was a calculated strategic clash over resources, over ecological dominance.
A literal turf war between geological and depth-sea powers, playing out across a major human city. It was the first undeniable proof for the GDF that Titan actions were driven by complex strategy.
Okay, this completely sets the stage for what happened next. The raw chaos and the impossible choices in Story 05, the two-front war.
It kicks off in the GDF Command Center, seen SC-1 in the archives. Tanaka's there, surrounded by holo displays.
And those red convergence lines blinking right over the Sydney hotspot marker. You can imagine the tension.
Tanaka, the data guy, seeing his worst-case statistical model playing out live, he has to face the human cost of those blinking red lines.
The archive logs his reaction, doesn't it? Just a quiet confirmation.
Yeah. The nightmare scenario. It's happening. You hear the shift. He's not just an analyst anymore. He's making life or death calls in real time.
Boots on the ground.
Yeah.
Or water in this case.
Yeah.
The initial clash, it was unprecedented, wasn't it?
Off the charts. Magmox erupts from the earth near the coast. Pure geological fury. The logs describe this guttural roar.
And slamming its obsidian fist into the harbor.
Creating a wave that didn't just flood the shore, it sent shockwaves inland, cracking foundations miles away. Raw tectonic power unleashed.
And Leviathan's response, it wasn't slow.
Instantaneous, serpentine, fast, an aggressive hiss, coiling up like a colossal serpent ready to strike back. The fight was immediate, brutal.
Magmox using localized quakes, Leviathan using water pressure, bursts, the city itself just groaning under the strain.
While this is happening, Major Rostova and the Aegis team are in the thick of it. but not fighting the Titans.
Right. Their mission was purely evacuation,
Yeah.
getting civilians out.
Flying low, dodging debris, navigating the urban chaos caused by these two giants wrestling. Their orders. Do not engage the Alphas. Just save who you can.
But Tanaka's watching the damage projections back in command. The numbers must have been horrifying.
Exponentially rising, structural integrity failing citywide, casualty estimates climbing every second. He knew they were out of time.
That's when he says it right. Damage projections are catastrophic. We can't sustain this for much longer.
It wasn't panic. It was a cold, data-driven assessment. They had maybe 20 minutes before total structural collapse, maybe less.
Which forced their hand, leading to the, let's call it the scientific gamble, Dr. Thorne's idea.
The last resort. Thorne believed they could use xenolinguistic protocols, an attempt at communication, or at least intervention.
Based on what? That Gorgon root encounter, wasn't it?
Yeah, Story 07. A Terran Titan that unexpectedly halted its attack when the GDF accidentally broadcast a specific low-frequency sound.
They thought it was a territorial warning, or maybe a retreat signal.
That was the hypothesis. So Thorne took that basic acoustic framework, amplified it, modified it significantly.
And broadcast it over Sydney as a universal danger signal, hoping to trigger some kind of self-preservation instinct in both Alphas.
A sonic Hail Mary, essentially. Drive them apart using their own language of fear, or so Thorne hoped. A desperate bid to save the city through translation.
And did it work? Even for a second.
Scene SC-14. For one heart-stopping moment, yes. The archives describe both Magmox and Leviathan actually pausing mid-fight.
They stopped.
Heads cocked, listening to this strange, resonant hum that filled the air. The battlefield went quiet, eerily quiet.
Tanaka's on the comms, right? Asking if they're retreating. A flicker of hope.
Just a flicker. Because the assumption that we could accurately translate and deploy an alien danger signal on the fly, well, it was hubris.
It backfired. SC-18, how badly?
Catastrophically. Whatever the signal actually conveyed, it wasn't danger, run away. It was interpreted as an insult, a challenge, an intolerable act of aggression from a third party.
So instead of retreating,
they got enraged, synchronized roars of pure fury. The sound wave alone shattered glass across the remaining city structures.
and they turned back on each other.
With even more ferocity, Thorne's attempt to de-escalate through science resulted in a massive, immediate escalation. The gamble failed. Spectacularly.
Leaving, who? Rostova, as the only option left.
The last line of defense. With the Alphas absolutely furious, the city crumbling, time gone, it pushed the conflict to its final cataclysmic stage.
Both Alphas charging their ultimate attacks.
Yeah.
Simultaneously, aimed at the hotspot.
You have Magmox, chest glowing that infernal orange, gathering molten rock for a massive magma blast. Enough heat to vaporize anything in its path for kilometers.
And Leviathan, central Hydra head glowing intensely blue, charging that hyper-focused water jet, designed to slice through bedrock.
Two unstoppable forces aimed at the exact same point, the geothermal heart of the city. If those hit, it's game over for Sydney, maybe the continent.
And Rostova, in her Aegis jet, GDF-02. She sees this unfolding.
Cockpit recorder logs show pure focus. No panic, just assessment. She knows what happens if those attacks land. No time for orders, no time for debate. SC-19.
She makes the call herself, diverts all power to thrusters.
Banks hard, accelerates, directly between them. A tiny fighter jet against two charging gods.
Flying straight into the convergence point. It wasn't an attack, it was an interception, a sacrifice.
So final transmission wasn't a distress call, it was a declaration, clear across the comms. We are not letting you destroy this world.
And then impact. SC-27, the collision.
Total energy whiteout in the recordings. The magma blast meets the Hydra cutter right where her jet was. The interaction, unimaginable.
Cataclysmic explosion of superheated steam, light, and shock waves. Her shields, her jet, vaporized instantly.
Vaporized. But in doing so, the sheer force of that localized explosion momentarily disrupted and scattered the primary energy of both Titan attacks. It forced a snarl, a blinding flash.
The aftermath. The explosion clears. What's left?
A void where the jet was. Magmox and Leviathan are thrown back, visibly damaged by the feedback, disoriented.
And then comes that strange moment, SC-31. They don't immediately resume fighting.
No, they slowly turn their heads, not at each other, downwards, towards the falling, burning wreckage of Rostova's jet.
The logs note confusion and a nascent realization, like they were actually processing this tiny act of defiance.
Maybe encountering something completely outside their understanding of conflict, this deliberate self-destructive interference from something so small it stunned them briefly.
And Rostova, did she survive?
Somehow. Battered, cockpit shattered, but alive. Her voice comes over the comms. Hoarse, but clear. Just 2 words.
Mission achieved.
Back in the command center, Tanaka watches this. The man of data. And his expression shifts. The archive describes his grimace changing.
To profound respect and dawning understanding.
Because Rostova's action, that single, irrational act of human courage, it defied all his models. It was a variable he couldn't calculate. Sacrifice.
She became the war's first human hero. But more than that, her action forced a fundamental rethink within GDF, didn't it? Especially for Tanaka.
Absolutely. It forced him and the GDF as a whole to recalculate the value of human life, human will, beyond just numbers on a spreadsheet. It proved that pure defense was impossible against this scale of threat.
Which leads us to the really big picture stuff. The GDF's mission had to pivot drastically.
They couldn't just be defenders anymore. They had to become something else. Players in what the archives call a struggle for relevance.
Meaning they had to accept the Titans weren't just monsters to be slain.
Right. They had to start treating them like elements of a planetary system, like geopolitical forces almost. Finding a way for humanity to survive between them.
Which meant understanding them, their motivations, their economy.
That sounds bizarre. It is bizarre, but the evidence started piling up. Evidence that suggested they weren't just malicious destroyers, they were purposeful.
Okay, like what? Give me an example.
Story 20. The Dead Sea Anomaly. Intel showed Magmox, a Terran, and Krak-Os, an Abyssal, converging. GDF expected a massive fight.
Standard procedure. Evacuate, prepare for battle.
Rostova's rebuilt team arrives on scene, and they find the 2 Titans trading.
Trading? How does living magma trade with a deep sea thing?
It was weirdly symbiotic. Magmox was injecting geothermal heat into a specific part of the highly saline Dead Sea. Krak-Os was then consuming the resulting superheated, mineral-rich brine.
So Magmox needed to vent heat. Krak-Os need the specific minerals. It wasn't a fight. It was a transaction.
Exactly. Resource exchange. Tanaka analyzed the energy signatures, the patterns. His conclusion changed everything.
The famous line, this isn't a war, it's an economy.
We weren't just in the crossfire. We were living on the marketplace floor without even realizing it.
That's a chilling perspective.
Yeah.
There were other examples.
Story 13, the Great Barrier Extinction. Looked like pure abyssal destruction at first. Leviathan consuming huge sections of the reef.
Horrifying ecological disaster, you'd think.
That was the initial report. But then GDF drones picked up something else happening simultaneously. Terran spores from Gorgon root being deposited in the devastated areas.
Spores causing what?
Regrowth at 1,000,000 times the normal speed. But not of the old reef. It was creating a new kind of mineral-rich structure, presumably one favored by the Terran ecosystem.
So Leviathan clears the area, consuming the old resources.
And Gorgon root immediately follows up, planting its own garden in the cleared space, using the destruction as an opportunity.
Thorne called it a war of consumption and creation. One destroys, the other rebuilds, reshaping the planet between them.
It pointed towards a terrifyingly large-scale process, hyper-accelerated forced evolution of the entire planetary ecosystem.
Which brings us to the philosophical core of this deep dive.
Yeah.
The GDF's final, most disturbing realization.
That the Titans aren't agents of extinction, not in the way we think of it. They're agents of planetary succession.
Succession. Like one ecosystem replacing another, but on a global, violent scale.
Exactly. Think of them as the planet's original architects waking up. Or maybe a planetary immune system kicking into high gear. They're battling for control over Earth's resources, its future state.
And humanity. Where do we fit in?
We're in the way. Our cities, our agriculture, our entire infrastructure, it's seen as an imbalance, an overgrown mold, an infestation to be cleared.
But calling the destruction of millions of lives clearing an infestation or gardening, isn't that just trying to rationalize horror?
It's terrifying because it's impersonal, you see. The analysis suggests they operate on geological rules, geological timescales. A volcano erupting isn't evil, it's just thermodynamics.
As the Sydney's destruction, the flooding, the reef consumption, it wasn't malice towards humans.
Not directly. It was about securing a resource, reshaping territory according to their own biological or geological imperatives. We just happen to be living on the contested ground. We are essentially collateral damage.
The psychological shift required to accept that.
Yeah.
It's immense. We're not the main characters in this story. We're just part of the scenery being rearranged.
Precisely. And that acceptance changed the GDF's entire mandate. They couldn't just fight anymore.
They had to become, what,
Manipulators.
Arbiters, saboteurs,
Yeah.
even unwilling diplomats in this bizarre planetary conflict. Morally Gray doesn't even begin to cover it.
Arbiters. How?
By learning to manipulate Titan behavior, maybe diverting resources towards one faction to weaken another, purely to create breathing room for humanity.
Actively helping one monster fight another, just to survive in the resulting ecosystem.
It's a terrifying game of planetary chess, using kaiju as the pieces, trying to ensure humanity has a place within whatever new world emerges.
It all comes back to Sydney, doesn't it? That convergence was the catalyst. It broke the old models. Tanaka's data met its limit. Thorne's science backfired. But Rostova's human courage bought them time.
Time to see the bigger picture. That this wasn't just about monsters, it was about geopolitics on a scale we couldn't imagine.
We're not in a monster movie anymore. We're witnessing geological evolution, a resource war between ancient powers. It forces us to look at our own existence completely differently.
The implications are just staggering. This conflict isn't about wiping us out, necessarily.
It's about what comes next. The GDF faces this grim reality daily. Humanity isn't necessarily facing extinction in the way we feared. It's something else.
This isn't extinction, it's succession.
And we're caught right in the middle of the planet's next great transition.
Well, that's certainly a heavy note to end on. Thank you for walking us through these deeply sensitive archives. It's information very few ever get access to.
It changes how you see everything, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And a reminder to you listening, the knowledge shared today remains under the strictest protocols.
Necessary precautions.
File sealed under Directive 20. Knowledge quarantined.